The chamber was buzzing. The cameras were rolling. The audience online was waiting, and the committee room was filled with tension you could cut with a knife. Every eye was on the stage as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez leaned forward, her voice sharp, her words laced with authority. She glared across the table at Senator John Kennedy and spat out a line that would soon reverberate across the nation. "Sit down, boy." The room went silent. A gasp rippled through the crowd. For a brief moment, time seemed to stop. People turned their heads, whispering in disbelief. The insult hung in the air like smoke from a gunshot. It wasn't just an attack on Kennedy. It was a dismissal, a belittling attempt to erase his voice in front of millions watching. But what happened next? No one could have predicted. John Kennedy slowly adjusted his glasses, leaned back in his chair, and allowed a faint smile to cross his face. He didn't flinch, didn't rush to fire back in anger. Instead, he let the silence linger until the weight of AOC's words sank into everyone listening. Then, with a voice calm but piercing, he spoke. "Congresswoman," he began, his southern drawl carrying both warmth and steel, "I've been called a lot of things in my life. But, boy, stopped applying about 50 years ago when I was digging ditches in the Louisiana summer sun to pay for law school. I've fought for every inch I've got, and I'll be damned if I sit down when the truth needs standing up." The room shifted. People leaned forward. The cameras zoomed in. Something deeper than politics was happening. Kennedy didn't stop there. He shared a story. Not a talking point, not a rehearsed line, but a piece of his soul. He spoke about growing up in a small Louisiana town, where opportunities were scarce and respect was earned, not given. He told of his father working 2 jobs, his mother clipping coupons to put food on the table, and the values they instilled in him: honesty, grit, and humility. "You see," he said, his eyes locking on AOC, "when someone tells me to sit down, it reminds me of all those times people tried to put my family in their place. We weren't rich, we weren't powerful, and we weren't supposed to matter. But we stood anyway, and that's what I'll keep doing. Not for myself, but for the people who can't afford to be told to sit down anymore." The audience erupted. Even some who weren't Kennedy's supporters found themselves nodding, moved by the sincerity in his voice. This wasn't the typical exchange of insults Washington was known for. It was raw, real, and painfully human. AOC, visibly taken aback, tried to regain control of the moment. "This isn't about your personal story, Senator," she shot back. "This is about policy, about the future, about standing on the right side of history." But Kennedy leaned forward, his tone softening, carrying an almost fatherly wisdom. "History, Congresswoman, isn't written by the loudest person in the room. It's written by those who listen, those who sacrifice, those who live for something bigger than themselves. You can insult me, and that's fine. But when you try to silence me, you're really trying to silence the people I represent. And they deserve a voice just as much as anyone in this chamber." There was no shouting match, no back and forth circus. Just truth laid bare, and something shifted. Not only in the room, but across the country. That clip spread like wildfire. Millions shared it online. Some called it the moment of the year in politics. Others said it reminded them that real leadership wasn't about winning arguments. It was about standing with conviction, even when the odds were against you. Commentators debated endlessly. Some framed AOC's remark as youthful arrogance. Others defended her passion. But nearly all agreed on one thing. John Kennedy's response was a masterclass in composure, courage, and character. And for Kennedy, it wasn't just about scoring political points. Later, in an interview, he explained what had really been on his mind during that tense moment. "I wasn't thinking about her," he said quietly. "I was thinking about the folks back home. The single mother in Lafayette trying to feed her kids, the farmer in Monroe praying for rain, the small business owner in Baton Rouge trying to make payroll. They can't afford to sit down. And as long as I have breath, neither can I." That was the heart of it. Beyond the headlines and the social media firestorm, Kennedy's words carried a message that transcended party lines. It was a reminder that behind the noise of politics are real people, struggling, hoping, fighting for a chance at dignity. The story of that day didn't end with a viral clip. It carried on as people reflected on their own lives. Many who had once felt silenced, dismissed, or overlooked found courage in Kennedy's stand. Letters poured into his office. From veterans who felt forgotten, from factory workers who felt invisible, from young students who had been told they weren't good enough. They all echoed the same sentiment: thank you for standing when we couldn't. In the weeks that followed, Kennedy continued his work with renewed determination. He often said he wasn't interested in fame or applause, only in making sure that every voice, no matter how small, had a place in the conversation. And so, from a single insult, "Sit down, boy," rose a powerful message that touched the soul of a nation: never let anyone silence you. Never let anyone convince you that your story doesn't matter. Because in the end, true leadership isn't about overpowering others. It's about lifting them up. And that's why John Kennedy's response shocked all of America. Not because it was clever, not because it went viral, but because it was real. Because in a world full of noise, the truth still has the power to stand tall.